Football in Focus, teed up indoors on Battleground, 2310 Battleground Avenue, teed up indoors golf shop with Davis Trox, who's out this week with some illness. But we got Bryant Roche back from the Greensboro News and Record, Bryant Roche, and Dudley Falls to Hickory. Say about that game, Isaiah Lackey. I was trying to remember the guy's name this morning. I don't want to forget the guy's name from Hickory. That was a big difference in that game, that big running back that Hickory had.
Yeah, a big old back. Broke a lot of tackles that night. About 225 pounds, which for those that maybe didn't watch the game themselves, I was told their offensive lineman, the biggest one they had was 218. So that boy is bigger than the guys blocking for him, and he broke a bunch of tackles. Took some direct snaps out of the Wildcat, and even had a surprise jump pass.
Yeah, I wrote down
he
was running, he was catching, passing, Wildcat back. He was everything.
He did a lot for that football
one
team.
Time. Dudley got a good tackle around his ankles one time. Went out for a few minutes, but didn't stay out long enough.
Yeah, I think Dudley, probably wished that guy wasn't playing that night.
I'd heard about him in the pregame when Coach Davis mentioned him. They mention these guys sometimes just out of respect for the other team, but sometimes you're not sure exactly if they live up to the prior hype in the building. But he was all of it more. And they said he had not played that good in two previous games. Two previous players. He didn't play as great, but that night he was definitely on. But Dudley, you still got to think about this guy. Key for Hickory. But Dudley, I just think about the impressive offensive numbers they put up this year. You got a 4,000-yard passer, Atmore. You got 3 receivers over 1,000 yards, Neely and Bartley and Newkirk. I mean, I heard that's the first time in North Carolina high school history. 3 guys in the same team over 1,000 yards. You got 2 1,000-yard rushers. I mean, that offense was just flat out off the old proverbial charts.
Yeah, and even that night, I mean, they moved the ball for sure. And they put up 40 points like they did, but, just throughout the season, like you said, I mean, just so many weapons on that team. Andrew Atmore, the all-time Greensboro area passing yardage leader, based on teams that are currently in our news and record coverage area, all-time high. Also means Guilford County all-time high. In terms of Dudley records, I mean, he broke a bunch of them. Newkirk and Neely both broke records.
Did he leave any records for Hendon Hooker? Hooker still got any records at Dudley after this Newkirk season, I wonder?
I'd have to see how many are left, but I do know that Atmore did surpass Hooker, with some of those records.
You think about it, too. I think about Dudley. I wrote down some things beside these guys' names. Just think about these guys. They kind of, Skip McCall used to be the PA man, gave these guys nicknames. But anyway, some thoughts about how they played. I think Newkirk sometimes did the impossible, it almost seemed like, some of those catches he made.
Yeah, that one grab in the back of the end zone that put them ahead in the fourth quarter with the pass interference tacked on may have been the best catch I've seen this year live in person. I mean, especially when you consider the magnitude of the moment in a state semifinal like that, under pressure and needing to bring that in. I think that's probably my nominee for best catch of the year, or at least I'll say considering the moment and the magnitude and all that.
When you think about it too, I think if it was that catch or one of the other catches, just how he got his feet down that one catch. It was like almost like NFL style feet coming down.
He had to toe tap. He had to have that awareness, and he kind of rotated his body a little bit too. I know you were at that game doing the radio call while I was in the booth next to you, and that was just definitely one of those plays that you'll remember.
What about, I talked about Carlos C.J. Neely. I like calling him Carlos in case, give him his real name. He seemed like the guy had the clutch catches, just clutch catches during the games.
Yeah, Neely, you trade him off, but Neely had the school record for receiving yards. Newkirk had the record for receiving touchdowns. 2 different guys. So if that tells you, something, then I don't know what, if that doesn't, then I don't know what will. Neely had the big game. A couple of those previous playoff games really came alive. And I know you covered the game where Atmore had you know, 8 touchdown passes against
Right.
Robinson. We saw a little bit of Neely and Newkirk in that game, I guess. But you know, you just
Yeah, because Newkirk had 4 receptions for touchdowns, and I think maybe Neely might have had 3 that night. It's just crazy. And I think about Bartley. I call him Mr. Electricity, Bartley.
yeah. Yeah, they use him a lot in different ways. I mean, you saw in the last game, you know, he caught that little forward toss across the formation coming around the end. You know, I saw them call that play multiple times during the year, where they would have him come across the formation and get that little forward toss or shovel pass or whatever. Also a really good kick return guy. Had several return touchdowns on special teams.
He had that late play in that game up Hickory, too. He got hit hard, had to come out of the game, but he had set them up for a big first down. I think there might have been a penalty later, too, one of those plays where they got the 15-yard penalty. But what it was, he had to come out of the game. And, I mean, I related him like Steve Kern. He used to be Mr. Electricity when they had the tag team of Steve Kern and Stan Lane, Paige Graduate, the Fabulous Ones back in the day of the wrestling days. I think Cordell Bartley was that same kind of guy. He's just electricity flowing all the time when that guy was out there.
Yeah, I guess I'll start off by saying on that play, you know, I was just hoping that he was all right. He was down for a little bit there. And the first reaction when a guy's on the ground like that, you just, you know, hope he gets up and hope he recovers. And, you know, with that said, I hope that he's doing all right now. But you know, so I'll start off by making that point. And then, you know, in terms of the game, you know, if you take a guy off the field that's that much of a weapon, that much of a playmaker, I don't know how much it changed the play calling from Dudley, but what I do know is that, you know, they had a chance at the end. You know, it was 4th and 5 and incomplete pass. I thought Hickory did a really good job defensively. They actually, you know, I talked to Coach Glass after the game, and, you know, they were looking for that scissors route that they actually did run on their right side. They had 2 receivers over there and ran a scissors concept, and they said basically we ran cover 4, taking away the deep pass, and Dudley tried to hit Southern along the sideline there, and it just
Ran out of real estate.
just, you know, just happened to be just an overthrown pass, you know, and that was it.
Got to give a lot of credit to the big offensive line, too. They gave Atmore a lot of time to throw this year, especially when they had the empty backfield. Offensive line did a very good job up front. I got a defense. I got to go Samad Bell. He was kind of leader up front for the defense. And you had just totally Dudley Strong or Ratliff, Dakota Brown, Ishmael Monde, then the linebackers Baldwin, Wilson. That super sophomore Robert McCollum had that recovered the fumble in the end zone of the punt for the touchdown. It was just big.
Huge play. I got to tell you, when that recovery occurred on that punt, I thought that said a lot about Hickory because I thought that was a pretty big momentum
Could have been
swing.
devastating, right?
I really think so. At that point in time, I was kind of wondering, is this a play that kind of teeters the game, you know, in Dudley's favor? Is this the game that or the play that demoralizes Hickory? But I got to tell you, it did not, and Hickory really, I got to give him credit for fighting back, not just then, but multiple times after Dudley scored.
I got to give another prop to those linebackers. DJ Parker, very well linebacker. Then you got the defensive backs, Sophie and Amaru, number 3, very slick young man. Newkirk, Bartley, Dron Blackwell, Southern. I mean, Blackwell, he's got a lot of potential back there, too. He's also, I just got Blackwell. Who's going to be the quarterback for Dudley next? Just a question. Get all those guys. You got Newkirk back, Bartley back. You got Neely back. You got Southern back. You got Brown back. Jaden Brown, all those guys are back as juniors this year, seniors next year. Who's going to be the quarterback? Will they take Blackwell, send him to a quarterback camp, get him trained up? You're going to see David Cutcliffe still doing teaching, solo teaching, doing tutoring. I mean, what are you going to do about the quarterback? That's going to be the question next year, I think, the big question.
Yeah, I mean, you have all, like you said, all the receivers back, the running backs back. They are going to miss that big old lineman, Braxton Smith. He was a really important part of that football team. At right guard, but I think that is kind of the question.
It could be. It could be
is
Braylon
it,
Jeffries, the backup who came in and played some backup this year. Could be Antonio Lee. Remember, he started that one game first part of the season around the first quarter and he became a receiver. Did very well at receiver. So it's up for grabs, that quarterback spot.
And I also got to tell you, it would not shock me if Dudley has a guy that comes from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just being a realist here.
And I tell
the
you,
way transfers are occurring,
and they're coming. I think
it's an
because
attractive place.
They're coming because of Antonio Hall, that offensive guru they've got. That Antonio Hall is the kind of guy kids they want to play in that offense because that offense is wide open, going to get a chance to throw the ball repetitiously throughout the game. You got 5 receivers right there ready to go, ready made. I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, I just like I said, it's an attractive place. You mentioned the receivers. You mentioned Hall as the offensive coordinator. They have a winning tradition there. The idea of a quarterback transferring in there, I'm just saying, it would not shock me one iota.
Right, and I think the quarterback from Dudley, I think Andrew Atmore the second, Drew Atmore, I still wish he would go to NCAA and take that job. And how they ever let Austin Hooker get away, I just don't know. That's out of beyond my realm of possibility, understanding it at all. But to have Atmore go in there would be a great thing for them, I think.
I've
even heard people talk about trying to get the coach over Antonio Hall, trying to get him from Dudley over to A&T possibly. It's kind of crazy.
I guess they're trying to pick at the local, and I don't know if that's maybe just local knowledge or guys hoping that'll boost the attendance or what.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if those guys actually have a desire to go to the said institution, but it is on the same side of town. It's not too far away, and A&T, their quarterback room just got devastated via transfer portal.
It's kind of like our back closet here. It's kind of empty here at Teed Up Indoors. But the coaches, again, gave good props to Antonio Hall, the offensive guru. Then you got Coach Stephen Davis, did a great job there. Denoris Best, linebackers coach and defensive coach, more defensive coach Brandon Anderson, the Coach Pat, who takes care of the linebackers, Coach Powell. The coach from my neighborhood does a good job with the JVs and linemen. Grimsley and Dudley back next year should be primed for more prime time. Don't you think next season both teams are still primed up, Grimsley and Dudley?
In terms of playing each other?
Nope.
That's what we really hope.
Yeah, we wish. Don't see it ever happen anytime soon.
Really hope.
Unless they do the conference realignment so they feel in the same conference, could get some good stuff going there. But for next year's teams with talent coming back, those two are still primed.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I guess the last couple of shows, I know Grimsley had lost the week before, so we kind of touched on what Grimsley might have coming back.
I can say one thing for you, 2 words for you, Mitchell Summers, that sure helps.
Yeah.
And other 2 words for you, Faison Brandon, that sure helps. Those two, well, alone, wow.
Do help. So, yeah, I mean, I think we just talked about Dudley, a bunch of their guys, like you said, I think the biggest question mark is, who's going to be the quarterback next year. For Grimsley, I know we talked a little bit about it last week. I would say my biggest question marks with Grimsley are the offensive line. They've got 3 key parts that are leaving to graduation. They've got 3 defensive backs who are key contributors that will also be graduating. The 2 wide receivers that Alex Taylor and Terrell Anderson that are, by the way, going to NC State and North Carolina. Yeah. So what does that wide receiver, who emerges at that wide receiver
Caden Cato has got to be the first guy up. He's going to be the first man, and other guys will follow. I think the Deese kid, and there's another kid, too. I think there's about 3 of them are ready, but they're not quite that ready like Anderson and Taylor were. But you think about that. You think about those 5 receivers in this county alone. The 3 at Dudley, we mentioned Neely and Newkirk and Bartley, and you got Taylor and Anderson, those 5 alone. And you throw in Stephen from down at Eastern Guilford as well. Man, it's just a load of receivers in this county. It was blessed.
As some may know, I've tried to start looking over the all area stuff.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I think wide receiver might be the most difficult. Might be the most loaded position group that I'm looking at, just in terms of pure talent. The number of talented guys that wide receiver group for that all-area team is going to be loaded.
It is going to be, no doubt about it. Plus, you think about all guys, but you got to throw in also the guys in Reidsville. Those guys.
Oh yeah, yep. You can't forget about
Kendra
Rockingham
Harrison. Can't
County.
forget about
Yeah.
him and those guys. Got it packed up there too, and the flipping guy. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much. You just do Grimsley, Dudley, and Reidsville. Almost have like an all-area team among those three schools, pretty much.
It's tough to deny the passing attacks that those teams brought this year.
Unreal.
Obviously Reidsville having one more game, but that's quite a receiver group.
Speaking in terms of those games that are coming up, let's get you to run these down right now. What about Hickory Fayetteville 71st? Who you like to be the winner in that game? Are you going all west? Or are you thinking maybe some East teams will win titles this week too? What do you think about Hickory and Fayetteville 71st? After seeing Hickory, you saw those guys.
I saw Hickory. I have not seen 71st, being honest with you. Really don't know anything about 71st. I mean, I don't know how much tape you've been able to watch, but I'm being genuine with you. I really haven't looked at 71st.
You still like Hickory's chances after seeing them, though, I'm sure.
I think, any team that beats Dudley, I mean, you can't not think that they have a chance. Because I think, being honest, Dudley, it was hard to think that they were going to lose.
If they would have maybe gone for two and they missed an extra point kick, I'm just always thinking what could have happened. I wish they would have gone for two and got that two. Maybe put Jaden Brown or Southern around the outside corner, get into the end zone or something like that. Or they ran Atmore some in that game too. Once they started running the game before at Crest, they liked what he ran. And I don't think Blackwell had any carries that game, which is different from before.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the blocked extra point, they went for the 2 point later, did not get it. The other time they did get it, though, that little run around the left side came after a penalty, and they still got it on the one play. So those plays definitely come to mind. I also think, Hickory stopped Dudley in the red zone twice on 4th down.
Yeah, it was tough. 4th and goal from inside the team. Good Lord, man.
And the halftime one, or before the half that you're referring to.
Right before the half.
3 incomplete passes in a row. It's just, those are the things.
That end zone looked pretty big too. I mean, it's big, the same size on, but when you got that burgundy color from Hickory, they got it painted in the end zone. It makes the end zone look like a little miniature football field out there.
I don't know if that turf field kind of magnifies it a little bit.
I think it does. Good way to put it. It kind of makes it look bigger in some ways. What about Weddington and Wilmington Highgard? I know you like Weddington because they're a Western area team. You saw them play also. Saw them beat Grimsley. Beat Grimsley. Those guys got a good chance to win.
Yeah. For those that haven't seen Weddington play, what really impressed me the most when they played Grimsley was how well they were able to run the football and run up the middle. They've got a quarterback committed to Georgia Southern who's a very good athlete, can also pull it and take it for zone read type plays as well. They had different wrinkles of the option. They had some midline stuff going up the middle. They also had more of a traditional zone read where he could keep it outside as well. They've got a receiver who's committed to North Carolina, and he's really tore it up apart from the game against Grimsley. Being honest with you, he only had a couple catches against Grimsley, but other than that, no one else has really been able to stop him. So,
and Andy Capone's a good coach. He's been around a while. I think some of his relatives are pretty good hitters back in their day too. Al and those guys, Al Capone, the guys in the past.
You think he might be related?
Might be some connection. You never know the way those guys knock people off or knock people down. You think about one of the best games of the day may be that game between Reidsville and Clinton. Clinton's got a history. They haven't been in a championship game since 2005, won it back then. But gosh, what a history among those teams. And Reidsville's got all that history. Man, that's a battle going on between those two. I can see that game starting already, right now, playing. Right now, those guys are so good.
Hey, I know you'll be chomping at the bit for any of these teams to play.
Yeah.
But Reidsville, it just something about them. I don't know what it is, but when this season started, first off, I'm going to say a big credit to that coaching staff dealing with all the injuries that they had and somehow surviving with only one loss throughout that early season stretch. I know you're about to have Mr. Rockingham on in a little bit, but the amount of injuries that they were able to overcome, Eric Teague having to step into the shoes of a legendary father like he did, once they got those players back, they now have one of the most dangerous receiving combos, as you kind of referenced earlier. Al Lee, who has had a very good year as a quarterback, and actually broke the touchdown record. He surpassed a previous record of 45. He's at 47.
Pat Moore at 51 to close out.
Pat Moore was at I think 54, if I'm not
54, got
mistaken.
three
Let
more,
me check on that. I think 54. Yeah.
Finished strong 54.
51 before the Hickory game. 54 after, I believe. Let me check that. Yeah. So. But Ali, I guess he's got one more game to see if he can throw.
Interesting.
It's going to be tough to catch up to Atmore, but I guess he's got one more game. And then, a really good linebacking core, actually. Paul Weiderman, who's an all-area player last year. He's got, I think, just a huge season. And Mansfield kind of on the outside. I like him,
the thing
too.
about them, too, is kind of interesting. When some of those key players were out with injuries, the guys who came in to replace them got all that prime, special, good time and experience while they were gone. It just kind of built that team, made that team even better when the other guys came back.
Maybe so. I mean, that's an interesting thought there. Sometimes when you have those guys hurt, you kind of have to throw those guys in there. And maybe at first it's kind of a adapting phase, but, now you basically have a second team of starters, you know what I mean? And Deontay Neal led the state in interceptions last year, but he's barely played until, late.
But he came back just in time for the playoff run.
He came back.
Perfect
He's
timing.
come back strong. I know Mr. Rockingham probably talk a little more about that, but yeah, that's he came on strong once he did come back. But I mean, he missed the bulk of the season, honestly.
Still kind of liking Reedsville, the Western team in that game, I think, probably. Kind of leaning toward Reedsville.
It's a little tough for me to pick against Reedsville. I mean, I haven't watched Clinton on tape. I don't know a whole lot about him, but it's just really tough for me to pick against.
It's a good running team, Clinton. Got some real good running backs. Got a quarterback about 1,800 yards passing. But one other game, Mount Airy taking on Tarboro. And Tarboro's 7th straight championship game. That's not too shabby either.
I know a man of your prominence probably getting a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, probably trying to sell more stuff. Not interested right now. But who you kind of a Mount Airy kind of guy?
Tough call, to be honest. I really hadn't covered the team up in the far northwest, but I do know that they usually have a lot of talent. And
they were there last year too, right? Defending state champions.
They made it deep and
they haven't lost this year, have they? Mount Airy haven't lost this year?
Undefeated, yeah.
Undefeated last year, too?
I'd have to check on last year. This year undefeated.
That's really good, though. You think about it. That's really good.
From what I understand, a really good defense is what I was told from someone.
You got to be tough if you're a Granite Bear. They call you a Granite Bear. You got to be tough, man. You got to do anything like that. You better be tough.
So, but yeah, that's. We'll see if they can pull it out. Sort of in that Winston-Salem area, kind of close.
And we're going to close out the football right now. One thing before Bryant Roche leaves out, that basketball's picking up pretty quick. I mean, there's not much of a gap between the season transition between football to basketball. And the Hayco's coming up, and Smith's looking pretty good right now, number 1 seed for the boys, and Bishop McGinnis number 1 seed for the girls. So some good back, and plus Smith's got a big series of games starting tomorrow night, all day Saturday. A lot of basketball being played, and the hoops are coming on strong.
Ain't that the truth? I've been busy with it, as I know you have too.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've tried to keep track of it all and just throwing some things in motion and have some stories lined up. And I know you referenced the Hayco there. I know that's a big event in town, and looking forward to doing it.
I like the way the News and Record gave you a good
yeah.
shot today on the cover of the paper. You got the big piece about Smith being number 1 seed, plus you got the Reedsville Rams on the front page of the paper. It's a high school. Front page and spotlight center of the paper today, no doubt about it. I don't buy it, but I do see it at the library. I see it at the convenience stores. Try to read that front page every day, and it's right there. You guys got it covered, News and Record, on top of it.
Oh man, yeah, no, I appreciate you being a loyal reader and giving me the platform that you do.
Give me the props, that's right. So you're out doing the dig and doing the work. So we got to get the man in who's doing the work. Going to give you the PhD degree. Post-hole digger. That's what it's called, the PhD degree. This guy's the post-hole digger.
I was about to say, I definitely do not have a doctorate degree.
Yeah, gotcha. But you're getting close. Getting close.
Oh, gosh.
Bryant, excellent job.
Thank you as always, Mr.
We'll see you on the next basketball event.
All right, I'm sure we're
Soon, I'm
somewhere.
Yeah, and always keep up the good work. And you will be at any game this weekend, football, or you're finished?
I believe football finished. We'll be checking out some basketball, and I'll be roaming around the courts probably more than anything now. But there's definitely a lot of it, like you just said.
You're scouting them out.
Definitely scouting them out, trying to see these teams the most I can, and of course we have that Hickory coming up in a little bit.
Be on it. Good job as always. Thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Durham.
Bryant Roche, News and Record. Got Jay Ramey next, coming in from Rockingham County. So we got it covered tonight on Football in Focus.